Shah returned in triumph from Rome. This coup had been the CIA's safest kind of operation, political intervention. Roosevelt and a handful of CIA men changed the government by organizing revolution on the streets. 300 people died during the rioting. Three different techniques the CIA used in bringing down governments in Iran, Guyana, and Cuba. The CIA's first success in bringing down a government came in Iran in 1953. Iran was then in the British sphere of influence in the Middle East. But British oil interests there had been nationalized by the new Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. The Americans, fearing that Iran's huge oil reserves would fall into Soviet hands, agreed to get rid of Mossadegh. The plan was for a coup to be mounted in Iran by this man, Kim Roosevelt. He was a CIA agent and grandson of the former US President, Theodore Roosevelt. The CIA plan was approved at a meeting in the State Department in Washington early in 1953. It had to follow one basic rule: the US government must not be seen to be involved.
There was some discussion, and Foster Dulles went around the table, and the only person on the State Department side whom I can remember as taking any kind of a very specific position was Ambassador Henderson, who was back for this meeting. And he said that he wanted to know none of the details. He felt that this was a considerable departure from diplomatic tradition, but he felt it was required by the situation. He wanted to approve it, and he wanted to know as little about it as possible.
In 1953, Iran was ruled as now by the Shah, but in those days he was young and inexperienced with little power. Mossadegh and his nationalist party controlled the country. Roosevelt's plan was to get the Shah to force a confrontation with Mossadegh in which the Iranian people would be encouraged to rally to the Shah. So Roosevelt and a small team of CIA men entered the country illegally and went underground.
Well, agency personnel, I would say 6 or 8 at the most. And the money that was available there, well, I can't remember. But I think we probably had $700,000 or $800,000 available, of which we used during the course of the operation maybe $10,000.
Are you saying that only $10,000 and 6 or 8 agents were needed to mount a whole operation of that nature?
Well, the Iranians were organizing themselves, and really all they needed was support and, to some extent, professional guidance.
To bring about the coup, Roosevelt simply looked for the forces opposed to Mossadegh. He found them in the Iranian army. The CIA's choice to replace Mossadegh was General Zaghedi. To start the crisis, Roosevelt wrote a letter which he got the Shah to sign, dismissing Mossadegh and putting General Zaghedi in his place. At first, the plan went badly.